tried Greg's Turk for the first few months. I'm lifetime natty. And so he probably put on 40 plus pounds of muscle. I feel like he's natural. 2 years consistent at the gym in the before photo. I'm having a hard time to decide this guy's genetics. He looks like he's undernourished. He looks like he's never lifted weights, but at the same time, he looks very, very lean. He has decent looking arms and shoulders. His chest is not too bad. It looks to me almost like he's suffering from that word that ends with Rex-ic. The thing with this is if you look like this, you have no idea what your genetics truly are. If you're underfed, you're not eating enough protein, you don't go to the gym, you don't play sports, well, how do you know what your genetics are? I can't tell. It seems like his clavicles or shoulders are a little bit wider. He's tilted to the side. I can't really tell how his genetics are. To me, it looks about average. It could be worse, it could be better. All right. And then 2 years later, it looks absolutely ridiculous. He has great abs. Didn't even know he had abs like that under there, as well as his obliques. Even the teardrop seems to have some lines going through it. And so he went from having almost no muscle, but some in the upper body, with not the best looking abs, to a guy who has an amazing six-pack and amazing shape. Now, one thing he does seem to be lacking is having the very wide shoulders and the small waist. And so, for example, a guy like Hussein, who has the very small waist and the super wide shoulders, any muscle that he puts on, it makes him look bigger than ever. Just because most people can't do it doesn't mean that you can't. Most people can't do a whole bunch of things. And so if you look like that, please go to the gym, train, try, put in your best work, and see what the results are. He writes in the comments, went from 115 pounds to 148 pounds at 5'9". He began at 5'9", 115 pounds. That's a BMI of 17. And so we can officially diagnose him as underweight. We don't know if he suffers from an ED, but we do know that at 17, it's very, very concerning. And so remember, that's about 35 pounds. And on top of that, he lost a significant amount of body fat. And so he probably put on 40 plus pounds of muscle. It says, tried Greg's Turk for first few months. I'm lifetime natty, except the Turk, LOL. It is very, very suspicious. Like, at first glance, you're thinking, it has to be steroids or SARMs or something. But when you're underweight and you're underfed, and we don't know if he's doing this on purpose, he might be suffering from an ED, and then you suddenly decide, you know what? I need to eat healthy. I need to eat a proper amount of calories and a proper amount of protein, and I need to start lifting weights. And so if you do all of those things at the same time, and you train hard for several years, many people are going to make these gains. It looks like he has very poor genetics from a starting point because you're seeing him as so skinny. But if he's so skinny because he's not eating enough, then his body at its start point, it's underfed. And if you're underfed, you have less muscle than what you should have. And imagine your body as an elastic. This is the amount of muscle it wants to have. If you start working out, it stretches it up, and you have as much muscle as possible till you get to the natural limit of the elastic. Okay? Now, if you're underfed, rather than starting at baseline, which is exactly here, you're underfed, and so you're essentially like this. And so you begin lifting weights, and within months, couple months, you're back to your starting point. You should have been there in the first place. And so it's like newbie gains on steroids. You're underfed, undertrained, and so boom, you get back to normal. After that, you're going to continue to make gains, although slower than when you first started, and it'll continue like that for several years, with each year being more and more difficult to put on muscle. That is how it works. And so if you're underfed, underweight, you look kind of like David Lade. Remember David Lade's transformation? He was very, very shredded. He started with perhaps single-digit body fat. And so David Lade most likely began like this and shot up very quickly. And so I'm certain that the people are going to be all over this. Tried Greg's Turk for the first few months. I'm lifetime natty. People are going to say, oh, you're just saying you took Turk Builder Max or Turk Platinum because you know that people are going to say you're a fake natty. But if you say you took Turk, then that will excuse it. Will give you a reason to make all those gains. Of course, people are going to say that, but they didn't watch the elastic explanation. Now, obviously, the Turk Builder Max can help you to build muscle, but in a case like this, hungrier than last time would do wonders. If you're not eating enough, you need the calories. If you're underweight, you need to eat enough food. Now, remember, I said 95% of people eat enough, but Guys like this, they weren't eating enough. I feel like he's natural. He may not be. Trust me, I don't know for sure. It's not like I've seen his blood work or any of these things. And I'm sure many people are going to accuse him of being a fake natty. But I want you to remember this. If you're underfed, you don't train, you have no idea what your genetics are. You can't tell. You can't look at a person's physique and say, I can tell you won't be able to put on muscle. What you can do is look, do you have wide shoulders? If you have wide shoulders, the bone clavicles, and a small waist, then if you put on muscle, your shape is going to be amazing. That you can tell. But do you or don't you have the genetics to put on a lot of muscle? You'll never know until you try. What's your experience with testosterone? Was good, gained quite a bit of weight, but hard for me to say it was all because of that. I gained 10 pounds in the first 2 months. I was also shoveling much more food into my mouth. Didn't gain excess fat though. Short answer is, I think it helped speed up the process a little bit. Nothing negative, that's for sure. 33 pounds of muscle in 2 years as a natty and wasn't even a newbie lifter. Sure, dude, I was somewhat willing to believe natty status until seeing that BS. It's actually more than 33 pounds of muscle because he gained 33 pounds while losing body fat at the same time. And so it's probably closer to 40. I don't think you understand human anatomy as much as you think you do. I was 135 pounds in early 2021, dropped to 115 and then gained it back and more in 2 years. You should watch more Greg Doucette videos. He taught me how it works. The painting is now clear now. He'd previously been training, got to 135 pounds. He then stopped eating enough food and stopped training, detrained, did everything wrong. He lost all his muscle and then some because he wasn't eating enough. His BMI was 17. He's not a woman. 17 as a BMI. Look up what that means. If you don't believe me, which you don't need to, research it for yourself. Somebody with a BMI of 17, is that healthy? Or could there be a problem with not eating enough? And so he then says, you know what? I'm going back to the gym. I've had enough and I'm going to start eating, shoving food down my throat. Boom! He gains back all the weight. Everything he eats is turning to muscle. Nutrient partitioning is occurring faster than last time. He doesn't need steroids. He has muscle memory where his body is trying to get back to normal. It's trying to get back the muscle he already earned by training in the gym. And he simply continues on from there. He's 145 pounds and 5'9", and you're saying no way is this guy natural. 5'9", 148 pounds, and you all think he's a fake natty. And so somebody actually makes some sense. You saw the height and weight right. He's not huge, he's just very lean. Good job up. Jeff Nippard is 5'4.5" and weighs 160 pounds. He's 5'9". It's almost 4 inches taller than this guy and weighs 148. And you think it's impossible that he put all that muscle? Why? Because he said he took Turk Builder Max? Look around, people. Just because somebody has more muscle than you or has a six-pack doesn't mean he's a fake natty. Yeah, lots of people are, but he's 5'9" and 148. If he was 5'9" and 180, well, maybe. But he's 148 pounds. How come everyone suddenly has amazing genetics? I feel like I'm talking to children sometimes. Like, you all understand this, right? Like, the people who are watching me, you're not morons. You understand a couple of things. When you see 1,000 photos on the internet, which ones are you going to be shown? The guys who have the best transformations. You're noticing this. Oh, everyone has great genetics suddenly. The people who have the best transformations are the ones who are going to post about it. If I did an amazing transformation, I'm going to be like, hey guys, look what I did. If I trained hard for 2 years and only put on 6 pounds of muscle, I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm not going to share that. So every single person who has an amazing transformation probably took a photo of them in the before and probably has a photo of them in the after. How many people don't have phones, at least in North America? Out of hundreds of millions of people, we see the guys who put on the most muscle. 33 pounds gained in a couple years is remarkable. It's very impressive, especially when you think he went from 112 to 115 pounds while getting leaner at the same time. But he had detrained, stopped eating, and lost a lot of his muscle. Just because somebody's transformation from before and after looks amazing, it doesn't mean it wasn't done natural, especially when you add the fact that people use very good lighting, down lighting. They're perhaps pumped in the after. And so don't just give up. Don't think there's no way that in 3 years of training, a guy who's 5'9" couldn't get up to a whooping 148 pounds. Not 248, 148. If you're interested in the Turk, code Greg, 15% off. And if you're the opposite of this guy, like most people trying to lose weight, don't forget about GLP Max. It's going to help you to lose the weight faster than last time, because if you're not hungry, you eat less. If you eat less, you're in a calorie deficit, making it far easier to lose weight. If you're interested in working with Coach Greg, of course, I can coach you. Apply by clicking the link in the description. Now, if you have low levels of testosterone, you need a prescription for enclomiphene, or perhaps you need Cialis, telmisartan, you name it, click on the link and use AlgoRx. Go to their website. They have doctors that can prescribe you prescription medications very, very easily for very affordable prices, much cheaper than other companies, for example, Merrick Health. You can enter code Greg for 10% off. And of course, if you want some clothing, go to Momentous Clothing. You can click the link in the description. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Please like the video if you liked it. And hurry off to get the Seco protein bars. They're softer than ever before. This is the best tasting bar we've ever had. It's absolutely remarkable. And until next time, I am out.